to meet back up with the party. I understand that they're leaving, but they haven't left yet, so I'm just gonna walk toward them and to like check on Program because I figured that this was some type of rite of passage with power to a certain extent. So in my mind, I felt like there was no worry, but the worry of realness if it ever became a thing. So I'm more concerned about Pilgrim's well-being than if she's gonna attack me at any moment.
Okay, I get you.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, but I'm just walking toward her.
Okay. All right, so you rejoin the group, and you're not really on edge that you're about to get attacked or anything, but you're definitely still feeling the effects of that whammy that she put on you, and there's a small part that you're gonna be a little bit more on your guard around her. You're noticing that when she, sometimes she'll say a word or just do a small gesture that seems to be able to affect you guys in incredibly strong ways. And this being is starting to kind of get a little more respect out of both of you in that sense, where there's way more than meets the eye, and it's not all pretty. So, you might just remember that shark face a little more vividly than you guys would have before all this happened. So, okay, as you all come together, Harmony is leading Pilgrim back towards the path and out of the clearing. It appears that she's going to be heading back into the facility and heading somewhere apparently to let Pilgrim rest. You guys quickly get back over to where Wotek stands guard at the end of the cobblestones. Get back up into the actual kind of citadel proper, and as you guys start making your way back around the large cathedral, you see that the gates in front, the doors in front, are still barred shut. Well, shut. As you guys kind of round the corner and get completely in front of that structure, Harmony turns to you and says, I believe you have a room rented for the evening, correct?
I nod my head.
Okay.
Beard does the same.
Okay. She says, then I would bid you a good night, as we all have a long journey ahead of us tomorrow. She says, I appreciate your help with the events of this evening and will not forget your assistance moving forward. She says, I apologize that you were put in danger, but again, none of that should have happened. And she gets a kind of confused look and a frustrated kind of crinkle of her brow comes across her features as she seems to be thinking about something deeply. And she says, there must have been something. There must have been something off with the sigil work. And she says it almost in an absent-minded, distracted way, more to herself than to you guys. And then she shakes her head, kind of disbanding these mercurial, ghost-like thoughts that are plaguing her. And she says, nevertheless, Pilgrim needs rest. She says, I will find you at first light, and we'll make our way down to the base camp. She nods at you kind of like sternly and kind of looks each of you in the eye to kind of search your expressions to see if everybody's on the same page.
Ymir nods his head.
I reach my hand out and and I say, before you leave, can you let me know? Because I can't wrap my head around of what really happened or why we were summoned to watch this and almost perish.
She looks at you kind of earnestly and seems to be searching for the right way to put it. Wanting to, you would guess from her features and her mannerism that she's wanting to be honest with you, but there are only certain things that she's probably kind of at liberty to discuss. And she tells you kind of curtly and frankly, she says, we had thought that you may enjoy witnessing an angelic being manifesting. She says, however, there should have been no witnesses, and Pilgrim's reaction should have been completely benign. She says, I don't understand how either of those things went askew. And that's all she says.
Wait. So you don't know that crazy looking golem like guy that was just chilling and watching?
She shakes her head once and she says, no, we know of him. And she sounds a little bit guilty as she says this next part. She says, and technically he had the right to witness. However, our sigil work and preparations should have kept the entire encounter completely clandestine. She says, I have no idea what happened to alert him or to allow him passage into the ritual. Or no, she says the visitation.
Gotcha. Okay. And I guess we'll meet again in the morning.
Okay,
Then I take a bow.
Okay. She nods and looks over at you just briefly. Ymir, do you say or do anything?
He just bids the two good night.
Okay. In your rumbling voice, you bid them both good night. And at this, Harmony nods again and turns and begins slipping away with Pilgrim's arm over her shoulder for support into the darkness of the kind of alleyways between buildings here in this secluded section of the complex. As you guys turn back to the main areas, you're going to have a short few moment walk back through some of the passages leading to the barracks. Is there anything, Ymir, Wotek has taken a position right next to you, and you notice that most of his flesh has stopped looking open and raw at his wound site and is already covered with a kind of white, pale-looking scar tissue and new flesh that is starting to.
Oh, he buzz cut himself.
Exactly. He gave himself the friar tuck. So,
right, exactly.
All right, so you guys are all set to start moving back towards the barracks. What would you guys like to be doing? The barracks, by the way, are very close to the workshops from what you guys saw earlier, so...
So we're not taking the same path, we're taking a different route.
There's actually several different ways that you guys could kind of work your way through.
I just don't want to go back down.
Yeah, no, we're not going back down. Ymir staunchly refuses that.
Yeah, me too.
Back
I don't
down.
figure that.
You mean
Yeah,
down
yeah, don't
into
worry about it.
the other
No,
place?
no, no, no. Shh.
Yeah,
We
no,
You don't
yeah,
want
don't
to go
talk
back
about
down?
that place.
No?
yeah,
Don't talk about that place.
No? The
Let's
place
go
with the
mess
door?
with the.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right.
With the fucking Naruto seals.
All right. So, it's up to you guys. Would you
Yeah,
like to
we're
head?
just walking.
You're heading to the barracks, or are you going to get food, or any kind of other?
What's the time on deck?
You would guess that it's probably around maybe like 8:30, 9 o'clock. It's late enough to be completely dark, but it's still relatively early in the evening. You notice that there's still a few different areas open that are serving, food, and a couple places that are, doing coffee with some kind of like open patio service and things like that. Typical of a kind of touristy kind of place where people don't necessarily turn in early. But for the most part, the entire area is really sedate. Nobody's being loud. No heavy work is being done, and it's pretty much just a nice, quiet kind of like outdoor cafe, or kind of like museum, kind of atmosphere in that sense. So, or art gallery or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I
Not
need
like
a
a
drink
water
after
park.
that.
So
I definitely need a drink after this, so I'm gonna head toward like the restaurant or bar area.
okay, you head over to what you remember to be kind of like the food court and all of that, and you guys notice that there's an area set up kind of in the main food court where they're just serving some drinks, just kind of like a la carte, with a small kind of like carriage that comes by and stops in different places of this complex, it appears. It's pulled by a single large brown mare, and it's essentially just like a bar on wheels. That's kind of making its way through the main kind of courtyard area. But you also see that there is a large kind of archway with a black, almost walnut-looking set of double doors with brass kind of filigree and ornamentation. And these doors, they say the mixing room in solid brass embossed lettering written across both of the doors. So when the doors open, it kind of breaks the lettering in half. As you guys are looking over at this, there is a dark individual that seems almost cloaked in shadow, the way he's standing within a recess in the wall. And the torchlight above him, coming from the sconce, is so diffused that all you can see are some flickering features peeking out from the darkness behind. As you guys are looking over in this direction, you see a kind of chalky white hand emerge from the darkness and kind of wave you over in that direction. Neither of you are able to really get a good look at the figure behind, though. So this is located probably about 100 feet away from your current position. And again, the door and whoever's standing outside of it seemed really heavily draped in shadow. You would guess this is some kind of drinking facility, though, but you're not even, I don't know, you're not even sure exactly that that's true. The cart, that's the mobile bar, it's got several patrons standing there right now getting drinks, just various tourists of one nature or another. and everybody seems just pretty sedate and in a relaxed mood. People are ordering wine and ale and sitting back and talking over the day's activities and discoveries with each other. Wotek is right at your heels, Ymir. And you do notice that the doors to this structure further away, you notice that those black doors are probably about 10 feet tall. But they are large. It's almost like it's supposed to be like a mock castle, castle
Right.
gate kind of setup.
Mm-hmm. Ymir turns to Wotek as they're walking slowly, kind of trailing behind Akama, but still following his general direction. Ymir just turns to Wotek and says, "Be mindful of the one called Pilgrim from now on, brother. Many secrets have revealed themselves tonight to me. We must find out more. Our quest demands it."
Okay, go ahead and roll a perception check.
Got you.
Hey, barkeep! Hey, barkeep! You got any red wine? I want your finest red wine. I feel like I need it right now. As I wave down the cart guy.
There you go.
Muted.
Whoa. Sorry, my OBS came up and asked if I was sure I wanted to exit. No. Okay. So as you guys call this out, you, at the same time, you hear a loud, piercing whistle coming from over by that door. And from out of the darkness, you see a face kind of just barely emerge, like a person rising just the front of their face out of an inky black lake on a starless night. And as it does so, you see the gruesome, grinning visage of the valet slowly emerge. As it does so, you see that creepy, almost kind of semi-smile across his face, as, again, his kind of chalky, corpse-like white hand kind of beckons you with a single finger once again over in the direction of the doors. The individuals running the bar wagon are a couple of human males looking to be in their early 30s. Both are fairly burly and look like their day consists of lots of hard labor. And this is the kind of time of the evening that they get to enjoy the fruits of that labor and make a little bit of coin. They both seem to be a little bit in their cups this evening and are kind of slurring and sloshing both their words and mugs of ale to the customers with equal enthusiasm. They both are the sort that will clap each other on the back while insisting that the joke that they just told is much more hysterical than it is, oblivious to the patrons listening or anybody getting annoyed with their antics. As they hear you calling out, they look over at you almost at the same time, both letting out a loud kind of cheer and yell, excited to see more thirsty patrons coming their way. As they cast cheers back at you, the one standing up at the very top looks down at your group from over the edge of a 5-foot barrel that's in front of him with some strange lettering that you don't recognize. You do recognize the large skull and crossbones symbol that's been burned on with a brand to the barrel. As he looks,
the good shit.
as he looks down over at you, a broad smile creeps across his face, and he calls out in English. He calls out, or in American, I should say. He calls out to you, "Hey, what can we get you?" With a thick, almost Cockney accent that you can tell isn't from this part of the world. As he does so, his companion kind of looks around from where he's positioned by the makeshift register and kind of gives you a broad smile as well. What would you guys like to do? You're about 20 feet from the wagon and about 100 feet from the doors.
Did Wotek not react to anything I said, or were you muted at that time? Because I talked to Wotek and...
I'm sorry, tell me again what you said to...
I was kind of trailing behind Akama, still following in the same direction, but I looked at Wotek and Ymir said...
oh, I'm sorry, I remember. I got you.
Yeah. Keep
you
an
made
eye
the perception check, right?
Yeah. Keep an eye
Gotcha.
on Pilgrim. Many secrets have revealed themselves to me tonight. They are most important to our quest, and after that, I didn't get anything. So I was like,
absolutely. As you do that, as you say that, you are looking him right in the face to make sure he's understanding you. At the very end, as you finish your piece, you notice that there's a small gleaming shift in his eyes where he kind of averts his gaze from yours. And as this happens, you both recognize that you are aware of it and that you saw it, and you can tell right away that there's a level of guilt associated with it that he can't really hide from you. Okay?
Got it.
Okay. I'll say not just guilt, but knowledge. Okay?
Knowledge. Okay. So I recognize that he might be withholding information, but there's more to the story. Like, let's deal with it at a different date, or I can
absolutely
get a sense that. Okay, gotcha.
And you would also guess that he would have liked to hide that from you, and that was definitely not on purpose.
Right.
That
right.
slipped.
Understood.
Okay, so now you guys have the choice. What would you like to... Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
Ymir's following Akama's lead right now. I just wanted to stop and make sure to tell Wotek exactly what I said.
Yeah, I appreciate you reminding me.
The cart.
To the cart, okay. You head forward to the cart, and as you do so, the young man on top of the wagon just kind of calls out in English. As I said, what can we get you? You see that they've got a couple of signs set up that just denote basically 10 credits for a large pint, and they've got lots of different varieties that they're selling. This all looks to be basically beer and then wine. Other than that, this doesn't really look to have hard spirits or anything like that. So they do smell really good, though. You're both your mouth starts watering because you guys can smell something that's not been made in a fucking rusty bathtub like a lot of the liquor in this place. So
I said, "Hey, you didn't hear me? I said I would like your finest red wine."
okay, and at this, he gets a broad smile on his face, and he says, Samuel, he says, we need a number 16 for the gentleman in front here. And then he looks over at you and kind of raises an eyebrow, Ymir, and he doesn't nearly have to look down at you so much as look slightly up at your perspective that you're seeing him from. Is once again you stand a towering 12 feet tall. You're easily matching his height way up on his perch there, and as he looks over at you in surprise, but also joy, as this seems to be a very kind of accepting and inclusive place. He kind of winks an eye at you and he says, and for Shorty over here,
Ymir, reacting cordially to the barkeep's response from the top, just raises one finger up and to order one of whatever they have that is closest to either mead or ale, anything like that in his size. And he wonders to himself, so he collects himself again, trying to speak in English, really having to think about it. Can I take this outside after I pay for it? Referring to the cup or the mug.
So as you're looking around, this pretty much is like this nice big food court kind of area. A little bit to the side of that, so it's almost like an alley behind that area you guys were in before. There's lots of open space and even some seating. You notice that it seems like most people have just been leaving the cups like laying all over the place. And as you ask this, he holds one finger up and shouts like some kind of shorthand message between the two, to which his partner kind of nods and holds up an affirmative kind of finger in the air over his shoulder without looking. And he says, no problem at all. He says, anything else?
Ymir just slowly nods his head in thanks.
Okay. And
he's still standing. He's still standing. Doesn't take a seat or anything. He's still standing because he wants to walk with it after. That's why he asked in the first place.
Okay. Right away, within just a few seconds, your guys' drinks come up. Akama, yours is in, strangely enough, it's in a large, it's almost like a champagne flute, but the size of it is massive. It's easily the size of like a 64 ounce like Big Gulp of modern day. So it's massive in your hands, but it's anyway, the wine itself smells and looks amazing.
Do I have a top?
Yeah, it's actually got a straw in it too, which you've never seen before, but apparently it's just local custom.
Never seen a straw before. Fuck.
I mean, well, you've never seen people drinking wine through a straw. So, now you guys, let's see. That was
once I receive it, I instantly pop the top off and start taking a swig. Nice meaty gulp, and taste it.
Okay, you can take 10 credits off, and Ymir, for yours, a huge fucking wooden mug, pretty crude wooden mug, is handed over across to you, And yours is going to be 20 credits.
Got it.
But you guys can keep the glasses. So,
Excellent.
And when I taste it, it's amazing, right?
when you taste it, you would say that this is a step up from homebrew, which is pretty
MIDI.
common.
It's MIDI.
But it's not quite what we would consider like, something you'd buy from a store
Royalty.
or get in a restaurant. It's like somebody made this somewhere that was relatively clean, but you wouldn't really want to see where it was made, and
Nice.
you're just glad to have some
I,
decent wine. So
After I finish taking my swig, I go, wow, not bad. Hey, let me get one more, please. I gotta have one in each hand at least.
all right, go ahead and spend the 10 credits, and you get another one served up to you right away. They both look happy that you seem pretty enthusiastic and pleased with the quality of the wine. You're getting a couple of cheers from a few other people sitting around. Not anything super excited or enthusiastic, but just people going, here, here, as you compliment the taste. For the most part, this looks like a lot of people that are just kind of burnt out. They're
Right.
They had a good day, everything went well, everybody's in a good mood, and they're just kind of burning the last of their energy, ready to go hit the sack. So
Love hitting the sack.
There we go. 20 credits off. Ymir takes a swig of the mead. Doesn't really analyze the taste. Just it's part of a ritual. Part of his people. After a decompression technique, a lot of different things. He turns to Akama and raises his cup and takes another swig before start slowly walking with Wotek, kind of admiring slow steps, admiring what's around him, maybe looking up once they get out to a more open area towards the sky, but back in the direction of Lopan, and walks towards where he beckoned him earlier.
okay, and Akama, do you want to join them or stay where you're at?
Yeah, I'm gonna take my second mug. Flute.
Okay.
Flute. Yep. 2 flutes.
2 flutes, one for each hand. And I slowly start walking, not at the same pace, but a little slower than his as I, oh, no. Oh, yeah, as I walk and drink.
All right, so you're double fisting it. It's an interesting look on the
Oh,
Atlantean.
no. I'm not double fisting it. I'm saving one side for later after I finish this one. 'Cause that'd be insane.
Oh, my bad. My bad. You're not actively drinking out of both fists.
Correct.
Okay.
Just
all right.
one.
I got you. Okay. So, you guys start striding across.
It like fucking spring break. Jesus fucking Christ.
I mean, shit, we've all been there. So,
Right.
all right, you guys start making your way across this little courtyard area. And as you get closer, you see the good old valet standing before you with that beautiful, beautiful kind of grimace that he's got. And as he's staring at you guys from the darkness, you see that he himself, for the first time since you've encountered him, seems to have a small flask of ornately carved silver in his right hand. It catches the light of the torches that hang on the walls just slightly glinting from the darkness and suggesting an extremely intricate and ornate design, which is also showing small glints of light from multicolored gems as well. This flask appears to have a very faint, kind of purplish glow, kind of almost pulsing up from the open cap, and where the glow illuminates just the smallest pearl of the darkness around it, you can see that there's a little wisp of some kind of smoke escaping as well. As he gazes at you with his purplish eyes from the darkness, you notice that he is indeed smiling right now. It's hard to tell on his face, but but there it is. As he is grinning at you, you see him raise his flask to his lips, and as he places it up against his body, you see that there is a small kind of sizzling heat that's escaping as he presses it up against himself. You hear an audible sizzling noise as well, and you would guess that this flask is actually burning him as he puts it to his lips. He throws his head back with wild abandon and takes a long pull of whatever lies within that magical container. And as he snaps his head forward and withdraws the flask, you see that for just a second, there's a thin trail of gore and liquid as his flesh that now has been burned to a metal surface is pulled clean and away, leaving behind trails and strands of liquid between the two. This sight once again has a stomach-turning effect, but to both of you hardened warriors, it simply seems like a man who's willing to do whatever he needs to get his fucking drink on. As you look at him, you can tell that this is true because he seems completely unbothered by any of this and is just glad to be able to enjoy his substance.
Ymir, greeting Master Lopan heartily, raises his mug to him and nods his head and says, "Greetings, Master Lopan. It's wonderful to see you once again." And then I would like to admire the flask, because you talked about the engravings and the gemstones, and that's something that would definitely catch Ymir's eye, and so I would like to admire it and see if I recognize any of the etchings or the gem work, anything like that.
As you are doing that, he notices you paying attention, and he kind of snatches it back into the darkness and holds it away from you in a very playful way, kind of behind him. And he says, well, let's see. As he does that, you also notice that he straightens his posture up and goes from looking like he may be a bit inebriated to looking much more serious. Much more serious. And let's see. And he says to you,
"As with all things, quid pro quo. Would you care to have a step for some knowledge?"
At this, he kind of cocks his head to the side to see if you're willing to try and take a drink of whatever this is in order to take a look at the flask.
It just reminded me
Ymir's
of,
easy, bro. You're like a dragon. You're fucking easy. I love it. I love it. You are always going to be the man that knows exactly how valuable those shiny baubles really are.
He he looks at Master Lopan and goes, Master Lopan, I was simply your reaction simply reminded me of the customary liquor that we have in my homeland, and I was curious. Have you ever sampled Ashen Meal from Jotunheimer?
Okay, at this, his entire demeanor completely switches. For just a moment, his mouth actually opens and goes slack for a solid like beat of 3 seconds. As he stares at you incredulously, he says,
You wish to know if the valet has tasted a particular liquor, a particular spirit?
okay, at this he kind of chuckles a few times in a really unsettling way that almost sounds like small wooden blocks falling downstairs. It has an effect to make both of you kind of pucker a little bit. And as he continues on, he says,
Indeed, I have sampled such a delectable nectar, and indeed, it made quite the impression on this old and experienced palate.
okay, with this, he just kind of looks at you and gets a broad grin across his face, almost as though he could recite to you the exact spice contents of the liquor that you're speaking about, and tell you exactly how to mix an appropriate, proportioned, and presented cocktail that use that as like the base. You know what I mean?
Know that my intention was never to offend your palate or your expertise. I was simply curious if you ever sampled the spirit of my homeland. We seem to share somewhat of a kinship, you and I. So I wanted to express to you my culture and share my culture with you is all.
Okay, and at this, his smile broadens, and he says,
Then please, noble warrior, enjoy a sip of your homeland.
Did you mute yourself again?
Oh, sorry about that. Did you guys hear?
I heard
"Sorry about that.
enjoy a sip. I
Enjoy a sip of your homeland."
of your
Okay,
homeland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
all
then
So-
it cut off.
so as he says this, he pulls the flask out from the darkness, the concealing darkness, and he holds it out towards you, where you're able to get a very clear and prominent look at it. As he does so, you see a pulse of purple light kind of flare out from his eyes, just momentarily. And right at that instant, a whiff of authentic, perfectly spiced and aged notes
Good meal.
hit your nose from the open flask being held in front of you. You would swear that this is exactly the exact same aroma from the first time that you smelled this as a very small child. And it smells not just perfectly authentic, but almost better. Almost like somebody, if you eat carne asada from somebody that grew up with it, it's gonna be way fucking better. That's the kind of
Asana
quality
from
that you're dealing
somebody's
with.
grandma. Got it.
Exactly.
Got
So,
it.
so yeah, that hits your nose as he holds this little tiny flask out to you. Now, if you'd like, you can take a look at the flask now before you take a drink, as he's kind of presented it, and make a roll on your precious gems. I would think would be good.
Yes, I would like to.
All right.
And then after that, you're gonna roll for insanity because he probably made you go crazy. No.
Don't give it away.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Let's see. Roll for precious gems. Da, 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 da. Let's see. That's without any modifier. If you need me to roll again with a modifier, let me know. Hello?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so as you take a look at this thing, go
like
ahead.
I said, okay. Yeah, I just. Okay, go ahead. I asked if you needed me to throw a modifier on that or not. I didn't know.
No.
Okay, cool.
As you're looking at this thing, go ahead and do a perception check as well.
Okay, got you. There we go. Of course.
Okay, so as you're looking at this thing, you are able to tell right away that it is definitely some kind of magical artifact, not just a magical item, but it's something very powerful. The purpose and parameters of that power you're completely unsure of. You've never heard of this object before, and although you've heard of some, like, drinking flasks and some different things like that are enchanted, it eludes you what this thing could actually be. As far as the metallurgy of its construction, you do notice several extremely expensive and valuable gems. You're also noticing that there are several different kinds of metal that are inlaid and worked into the filigree, that are all separate kind of alloys. None of them look familiar, though. A few look to be similar to perhaps gold and silver, but one almost seems to be glass-like in nature, and a couple other are of strange kind of shifting hues that you're just completely unsure. But again, whatever it is, they're all very uncommon components. and they appear to be masterfully crafted together into something quite potent. As you're looking, you don't see any of the crusty, burnt flesh that must have been present when the creatures, when the valet's lips were seared, present on the flask itself. The actual flask looks completely clean around its opening. Okay, other than that, as you're looking, that's really all you can discern as he holds it out to you.
Ymir, looking inquisitively at Lopan, asks, "Do you know the saga of the great warrior used to make this batch? Do tell me." Ashen meal has ashes of dead Vana warriors in it.
He looks up.
It's a key component. It's
He
they
looks.
believe that. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
They believe that the ashes of the dead warriors within the liquor itself fortifies their spirits in life. So and their stories are celebrated in the great Elderstrom Mead Hall of Jotunheimer.
Okay, he gets a kind of sly grin across his face, and he says, "I'm a member of something," he says,
I'm a member of a kind of elite spirits club. Yes, that's a way to put it tactfully. Through our members, we have resources that allow us to, shall we say, borrow rare and eccentric spirits from all across the megaverse without the previous owners having any idea. He says several hundred years ago, I sampled a potent and spicy nectar from your homeland, in fact. He says, although I did not procure it, I was among the tasting group. Oh, and it sent such a wonderful, joyous fervor through our ranks. We felt our blood boil and stir with the ashes of your ancestors. We felt our vision sharpen and our skin cool in the wind and the glare of your ancestral homeland. The steeps froze our blood as we supped the fine nectar.
with this, he holds his flask high, and almost does like a cheers to the memory as he seems just enraptured, contemplating the experience that he had with that liquid. And he once again puts the flask to his lips and takes a long pull, burning himself once again before he extends the flask out to you.
As he cheers, I go ahead and cheers him back with my mug and knock some of my stuff back too.
Okay, he joins you.
Ymir raises his mug high, doesn't touch the flask, but raises his mug high and goes, "Then may the memory of the fallen warrior fortify you, Master Lopan. I appreciate your generosity, but that's not why I approached you. You beckoned us over here for a reason. I take it. As much as I enjoy your company, if you have something to say, I beckon to you, speak it."
Okay, at this, you can tell that he is, you can tell that he's trying to kind of get himself mentally together. He's definitely in his cups tonight, and you guys have not really seen him in this state before. He seems pretty disheveled comparatively. And as he kind of tries to right himself mentally, he kind of gives one quick shake of his head, and then looks quite a bit more clear-eyed at you, and he says,
Of course, of course. If you would indulge me for a moment, I would simply ask if you have checked on your companion since earlier in the morning when you parted ways.
What's the problem with Master Ren? Outside of that experience with the lurker, he seemed to be in relatively good spirits and health, albeit
You saw the intruder? You know its identity?
Nay. Has never seen it before.
okay. As
We were
he
there.
as he does
We were
this little
there.
outburst, is there anything either of you want to say?
I do kind of like a shocking look and slowly start tilting the cup more back. I'm just
Ymir?
pairing these two as they converse.
Ymir's, is there anything you want to say?
Well, he asked me, "Do you know the identity of the intruder?" And all Ymir is gonna say, "Nay, before we knew what was happening, the lurker was upon us."
Okay, at this, you see him turn his head to the side, and he spits a nasty glob of purplish, kind of slimy liquid in a symbol of disrespect and disgust. And his little purple loogie hits the cobblestone down by his feet and just kind of sizzles just a little bit in a nasty, toxic, noxious kind of reaction. He lets out a curse in some unknown language, but you guys can tell from the inflection that it's definitely some kind of, huge sign of disrespect. And then he turns back towards you with a kind of twisted kind of sneer on his face. And he says,
A wielder of technology, most foul, blasphemous. Upon these hallowed halls did it walk. We will find it. We will make it pay.
okay, and at this, you actually see that he's got his jaw kind of clenched, and he appears to be almost so tense that he's like grinding his teeth. Okay. Anybody saying or doing anything?
What is wrong with the lurker? Is he or it something that's still in the area?
So you're talking about the lurker from
Wait, they're just conversing about.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure. I thought maybe you meant the lurker below from last session.
Oh no. I'm just talking to whatever. I'm just piggybacking basically.
Okay. He says,
The laws are clear for this land. One of the factions, one of the hopefuls, broke the laws and came here, set foot on these hollowed stones, set foot in this hallowed land. A poison and a pox upon us all. The alert was raised earlier today at the intrusion, but we have yet to identify the culprit.
okay, he kind of leans his head in a little closer to both of you in an almost accusing kind of gesture. Not anything overt, but definitely there's some tension there. And he appears to almost kind of, cock his head to the side just a bit, almost asking, do either of you know anything about this?
I shake my head. No.
As I said before, Master Lopad, we saw our companion in the workshop, and then the lurker was upon us, transported to that foul realm of bone, blood, and darkness.
Okay, he seems satisfied with this and just kind of nods. And as he does so, he takes another big pull from his flask and seems to kind of shake his shoulders a little bit, almost like a shiver. And some of his tension seems to kind of flow out of him as he does so. He looks down at the flask and stares at it for a couple of long moments, and then kind of shakes his head slightly and screws the cap back on the top. He deftly seems to slip it into an unseen pocket somewhere in his jacket. And as he does so, both hands go together in front of him in an almost contemplative gesture as he touches all of his fingertips to each other, and stands there almost reminding you each of a humble priest in a way. As he's looking at you there in the darkness and the shadows, he says,
I have been instructed to let you see behind the veil of this fabled monastery. If you would like, I can take you to an individual of great power, but there is risk. He says, as with all things.
As he's saying this, you notice that there's a strange, almost kind of like the hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth. And as he's saying this, you're starting to notice he's actually a lot more drunk than you guys originally anticipated. Like, it did not appear that he was like almost like fall down drunk, but in this moment it's seeming more and more like he's actually out of it. And as he's got this little smile at the corner of his mouth, you actually see him start to kind of, his chest kind of heaves up and down a couple of times like he's chuckling, and he says,
Never mind. I'm just having a bit of fun with you. I'm just having a bit of fun with you. I must tell you two that the fact that you made it out of there alive.
And at this, he doubles over at the waist and begins just having uncontrollable laughter that's just hideous on the ears. But you realize that not only was he rooting for you earlier, he also really didn't think that if you guys weren't right next to him, you'd make it out of there. So, in a strange way, you see that this was. It almost seems disrespectful, and in a way it is, but it's also based out of being truly impressed with both of you. And it also makes the impression on both of you that where you were at was way more dangerous than you may have even realized. Even as dangerous as it seemed, if this guy's reacting this way and he like lives around here or works around here, it's yeah, it definitely was a narrow miss. And you guys did a great job getting out of there with your skin intact. So all right, as he's laughing and going on about this and having his own little moment, do you guys want to say or do anything?
After he busts out the laugh and says, "Oh, well, I'm just kidding," and I look at him and I instantly go, "Ah!" Like pointing the two glasses at him, like, "Ah, you got me," type situation.
All
Am I
right.
going there?
All right. And at this he gets another couple of howls of laughter going. It's a whole new round of laughter, seeing that you're being a good sport about it. And yeah, he's just kind of enjoying himself. And it impresses upon both of you that you would have guessed that this being, whatever the fuck he is, didn't really have like human moments anymore. He almost seems like his whole purpose is to like serve the, you know, the powers that be of this place. But you're both seeing there's definitely like still a person in there. And in a weird way, it's actually a little stranger to see that than it is to see his almost like undead appearance. Ymir, is there anything you want to say or do?
Ymir is just being a good sport about it. His demeanor, he doesn't roar laughing, but he definitely chuckles along, still remembering what the fucking realm that he just went through felt like to him. So, still uneasy, but he's a good sport about it, and he laughs along with the group.
Okay, and as you guys are sharing a little chuckle, he all of a sudden catches his breath and looks up at you guys really seriously. He gets extremely somber and almost like announcing there's a fire in the house. He tells you with an almost kind of desperate passion,
You you were right not to go in the door. Don't ever go in the door.
and as he says this, he reaches out to you, Akama, and actually takes one hand and like grabs at the front of like your shirt, the front of your kind of jacket. And as he reaches out and grabs you almost like a drunk man trying to convince somebody, you know, that they really could have thrown that touchdown pass senior year if somebody hadn't have shined that fucking flashlight from the bleachers in their eyes. He has that crazy fucking desperate look as he's saying this to you. And then after a second, he kind of catches himself with his jaw kind of hanging open, looking like, just a wild man. And he leans back and kind of just gently kind of just pats your shirt to kind of settle it back down and straighten it. And he just leans back and catches himself and kind of remembers himself, straightens himself out, and kind of gets himself collected, apparently embarrassed at his loss of control.
Ymir looks at Master Lopad and says, "In my culture, we have a saying: mead opens the heart of all beings. If don't 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 feel bad. It's it's perfectly fine to express your humanity every once in a while, Master Lopan. Never forget that.
Okay, and he looks up at you almost like confused and is kind of searching your eyes to see like what, not so much the meaning of your words, but the intention behind them. And after a few seconds of looking at you very seriously, he seems satisfied, apparently, and he nods just slightly. And as he does so, he seems to take a deep breath, but you both notice when he breathes deeply, you can hear it coming out of different parts of his chest as well. Like you can hear it, air rushing into his mouth, but you're hearing under his clothes some kinds of little gaps, apparently, that are letting that air whistle their way out of his torso as quickly as he breathes it in. Not sure what to make of that. As he does this strange gesture, it seems to calm him down. He stands up, in a very presentable and courtly way once again. And as he does so, he takes one thin wraith-like white hand and wipes it back across the top of his head, smoothing out the remnants of his hair, and then looks at you both in a very kind of dignified manner as he kind of straightens the collar to his outfit, and he says,
Indeed. I apologize for forgetting myself. It won't happen again. Is there anything else I can do for our honored guest this evening before I retire?
Can you order some more chow for our companion that is still at the workshop? Maybe not like a large meal, but something to, let's just say, snack on.
he nods in the affirmative, and he says, "Consider it done," and he just kind of bows.
I bow back.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.
Okay, he nods and he says, "And you, gentlemen, sleep well, but sleep lightly." And with that, he kind of retreats back into the shadows and is just standing there. He doesn't disappear. He's just standing there. Like
What a weirdo.
creep, right?
A fucking weirdo. It's like it's like he's looking forward, and the lights touching like just the little bit of his face, and then when he bows his head, the hood just covers his head, and now he's just in the shadow, just creeping.
Right. He's like a demonic Jim Carrey as the cable guy. All right, so where would you guys like to head now?
Ymir looks at Akama and goes, kind of starts walking away, calls over Wotek, wherever Wotek's been, and says, "Shall we check on Ren and away for the night to meet at first light with Harmony?"
Wotek lets out just kind of a grumble as you say this in agreement.
Yeah, we should check on him. At least let him know that we're gonna retire to the room, and hopefully he can meet us there, just so we can keep each other safe for the time being.
You lead on. Wotek and I will watch and follow, just in case. And he kind of trails off like that, trying to let Akama know what he means by that. given their past experiences earlier within the day.
Okay.
Kama chuckles as he finishes the bottle of wine.
Yeah, the flutes.
As you
one of
say
the
this, Ymir, you guys hear
You hear complete silence.
you guys didn't hear that?
No.
No.
Okay, you guys hear this.
The fuck?
Coming from somewhere kind of distant around a corner. It sounds like it's definitely out of sight and maybe even like close to half a block away from your current position. It's just very faint, but you can hear it kind of ringing through the corridors.
In what general direction?
Coming from all over, echoing through the kind of corridors and alleyways that you guys are standing in as you're moving through back towards the workshops and barracks. And it happened as soon as you said that, Ymir. With that, let's go ahead and stop it there for today. We're at 5 o'clock. And we'll pick up there next time.
Hell yeah.
Sound good?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording. And now, bow your head for the patrons. BKZJT, Rapid 3642. Andy Sasa, Nova Rose, Kerry T, Tommy Gunn. These 24 Colts, Jess H, It's. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/homegrownlore.